There's been a significant development in global attempts to regulate the growth and use of artificial intelligence. Late last week, the European Union ticked off a provisional set of rules to govern how AI is used, including on things like the collection of personal information, as well as programs like ChatGPT. The deal between EU nations is the largest of its kind and may provide a blueprint for the way other nations look to regulate the industry. Let's bring in Industry Minister Ed Husic. How significant was that EU deal?
Pretty big. I think what it signals across a number of different countries is something that they really haven't done for quite some time, which is to think about the regulation of technology. So the EU is putting in place a framework that targets high-risk areas, and is saying that it'll look if it believes that it's too high risk to ban certain uses. But also to tackle things like the way in which AI generates disinformation as well. So they're looking at doing that. It comes off the back of the US government, particularly through the US president, issuing an executive order to improve safety in the design, the development and the application of AI. The Canadians are doing this as well. And Australia was part. I represented the country at the UK AI Safety Summit earlier last month. Where countries are saying we need to really lean into this. So what you're seeing with the EU, you're going to see happen in a lot of other countries, and they're going to engage a lot more in this in a way that in the past it was a bit of, well, you can self-regulate, do this on your own. And now governments are saying with the way that the technology is evolving, we've got to be a bit more hands-on.
Yeah, there's huge potential, but also apparent risk, great risk. Will Australia go along similar lines as what we're seeing in the EU?
So the concerns that people had around how fast the technology was being developed is one of the motivations for us kicking off consultation earlier this year around the safe and responsible use of AI. And we had about 500 submissions. The interesting thing was, it wasn't all industry, a lot of consumers, a lot of members of the general public saying, can we get the guardrails right? They get AI delivers a lot of benefit, but the thing is, does the technology get ahead of itself? So in the coming weeks, we'll release our interim response to what we've seen so far. It'll give a sense of likely direction and what we'll do. So to pick up on your question, yeah, we are targeting high-risk areas. Yes, we do want to ensure that the public can have the confidence that the technology is working in the right way.
Are you worried about it at all?
I am worried. So when it comes to technology, what I'm worried about in terms of the way technology develops, and we can use AI as an example, there are a lot of people that become really, like they're full on in favour of it and think that it can do no wrong. And sometimes even they don't know how the technology will pan out, the way it'll behave. And so you've got to have a better approach on the design and development and the use of AI. The thing I am very focused on is disinformation, because you've seen, and people would have seen, ChatGPT, the stuff it pumps out, you can hardly sometimes tell the difference from reality versus manufactured, and that presents particular challenges. I mean, you want to be able to know that stuff you're seeing on your screen is legit and real.
Exactly. Now, you've recently announced the funding and support for what's known as a quantum growth centre. Yep. This is quantum computing. For our viewers who are just tuning in and think, okay, well, I know what AI is. What's quantum computing, and how big a change is that from, say, the current PC or traditional computing?
Yeah. So a lot of quantum technologies. So you've got communications, sensing, and computing. I mean, what they're saying about computing, and particularly being able to effectively manufacture chips at the subatomic level, right? So it can process data way quicker than classic computing can do. And the reason that's a big deal is because classic computing can do a lot, but there's a lot it still can't crack. And so quantum computing, if we get that right, will be a game changer, finding new ways to develop new medicines, improving the way our energy performs, logistics, like this, massive for industry. But in sensing...
It's not a theoretical thing. Industries are already using this.
Well, there's, for example, where I launched the call for the setup of the the Australian Centre for Quantum Growth. We did that at a place called Quintessence Labs here in Canberra. And they're thinking through, because quantum computing can crack existing encryption. So they're developing stuff that in a post-quantum world will be uncrackable or too hard to crack. But there's another Canberra mob that's just moved out of the ACT that was dropping frozen atoms from a plane to determine where critical mineral deposits were below. And these are Australians that are leaning in and developing this tech, and this will give us an edge longer term. It's about building stronger firms now, new industries in the future, really good for jobs, and doing more of it here in this country.
And I know that last week you tabled the investment mandate for the National Reconstruction Fund. That was a big part of the last election. The dollars are going to flow now. Where to? Where are you investing?
Well, our big thing was, we as a lot of Australians want, they want a future made in this country, a future made in Australia. We make more things here, ship them everywhere, but meet our own needs, and it creates good jobs. The NRF, National Reconstruction Fund, big part of that. About just over half a dozen priority areas where we want to work with other investors to make sure the capital is there to grow Australian manufacturing onshore, to expand businesses, create more jobs, and do the things that we said we wanted to in the election. The investment mandate that we basically tabled last week, that now unlocks billions that can be directed, and we've got a board in place now for the fund, and they can go into resources, agriculture, defence, medicine, transport, and emerging capabilities, energy as well, and low emissions technology. So we want to be able to scale up what we make here in this country and put it to good use here, and also be able to provide a lot of opportunity for export.
A lot of this stuff, you need the workers as well. The migration strategy today, I'll be joined by Clare ONeal in about half an hour, but for your perspective as Minister for Industry and Science, we've traditionally had to battle with the brain drain, losing our tech whizzes to Silicon Valley and elsewhere. How do you keep them here?
Well, in answering that, I mean, a lot of what the Reconstruction Fund is about is sending a signal to Australians that have gone elsewhere who felt they couldn't get support. They wouldn't get investment support. Like, we want to send a signal, don't leave the country, we want to back you here. But we also want to bring other people that are doing work for other countries back, or bring in talent from other countries here. So the changes that Clare is announcing are really important for industry, because they need talented people. We're training them up as quickly as we can. You still need to get access to talent. If we can do that in a faster way and in a targeted way, particularly in terms of digital and technology areas, this is a big deal. So what Clare's doing and the work in the migration strategy is important for the country's longer-term economic security.
Yeah, and no doubt huge productivity gains if you can get that speed up
Massive.
those approvals. Ed Husic, thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Good on you.